Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome back to the daily readings of Srila Prabhupada's books. Very auspicious day today. It's the disappearance of Srila Jiva Goswami. And this is a very nice thing to do on this day because we're going to be reading a little bit more of the 87th chapter of the 10th canto, Prayers by the Personified Vedas. These are the greatest philosophers in the history of the universe, and Jiva Goswami is actually one of them. He's one of the greatest, or if not the greatest, philosopher in the history of the universe. And his commentary on the Bhagavatam, or his explanation of the Bhagavatam in the such Sandarbhas, is so masterful and such a great piece of literary philosophical exposition of the Srimad-Bhagavatam that even Shankaracharya and people like that, they wouldn't touch it. They couldn't even begin to interpret it or try to make it justify their philosophy, because he made personalism absolutely irrefutable and clear. And those who follow in his footsteps make the absolute truth irrefutably clear. That was his greatness. There's all sorts of stories we can tell, but that's what I want to do. I want to read the Bhagavatam in honor of him today, Jiva Goswami. Plus, there's quite a few comments of his in the purports. Okay. Sanatana Goswami came just before Jiva Goswami, and Jiva Goswami was on his way to Vrindavan to be with Rupa and Sanatan after Lord Chaitanya left. And I don't remember exactly whether he got there before they left. I think he got there before they left. Just missed him. Srinivas just missed, but yes, but Jiva Goswami was there. So he was trained by Sanatana and Rupa Goswamis, and therefore he's right in the line, one of those world acharyas that got into the list that Prabhupada printed at the end of his introduction to the Bhagavad Gita as it is. Another point that this isn't his appearance or disappearance, but I've been thinking of him a lot lately, and that's Baladev Vidyabhushan, because he was sent by Vishwanath to Jaipur, and he was confronted with the anti-party, who did not want to allow the Gaudiya Vaishnavas to sit at the table or be first in line or even do the puja of the very deities that Rupa Goswami found and installed. And what he did was he went to Govinda because they needed a commentary on the Vedanta Sutra, because you can't have an actual bona fide sampradaya unless you have a commentary on the Vedanta Sutra. So of course we have our commentary on the Vedanta Sutra, it's Srimad-Bhagavatam. Therefore Lord Chaitanya didn't emphasize having the direct, so we didn't have one of that style. So Jiva Goswami, the Ramanandis, were the ones that were challenging him. And it came to a confrontation in front of the king. And king was the judge. And so then the first thing they said was, "Where's your commentary on Vedanta Sutra?" And he says, "We have one, I just don't have it with me." And the king said, "All right, we'll give you a certain time to get it." So he went to the deities, Govindaji, and he said, "This is a real fix." So Govinda told him, "Don't worry, I'll give it to you. Just write it." And then he dictated it, the Govinda Bhashya. And he went back and completely annihilated. Jiva Goswami did that same kind of thing when Rupa Goswami was bothered by some big Digbijay philosophical pundit. He used to be They still are actually in India. They travel around and they debate with people and get pieces of paper written that we've defeated you, you've defeated us, and then they get this reputation and they, you know, all those things, power and money and all those things, adoration. So he went to Rupa Goswami and he challenged him. He said, "What do you want?" He said, I want to debate you." He said, "Why?" Well, what do you want? I said, "I want a piece of paper that I defeated you." He said, "Okay, here it is." And he signed it and gave it to him, you know. Didn't even talk to him. Jiva Goswami was outside the door, you know, and he heard this. And he called him over and he said, "What was that? What did you talk about?" He says, "What is this?" He says, "Well, I just defeated Rupa Goswami." "Really? What did he say?" And then he started talking to him and he defeated him completely. And then Rupa found out about it and banned him. He had to go. He was, you know, living in just, I don't know, a hovel somewhere, in a tree or something, you know. And finally, I think it was Sanatan found him, and he was practically dead. And he brought him back, and he chastised Rupa, and he said, "You can't do this to Jiva Goswami. Look who he is, you know." And then Rupa said, "Yeah, okay. I just wanted him to be humble, rather than be puffed up. Didn't want him to get puffed up from his erudition." Anyway, that's the level of the Goswamis, and Jiva Goswami was the greatest philosopher ever. So we can honor him today by attentively reading the Srimad-Bhagavatam, and we're going to read a prayer by Sanatana Goswami, who was his kind of like a savior in that incident, in that pastime. Srimad-Bhagavatam Mahima Stotram Ki Jai, by Sanatana Goswami, the glories of the Srimad-Bhagavatam. And Jiva Goswami glorified the Bhagavatam probably more than anyone by his Krama Sandarbha and by the Satsandarbhas. Okay. In the Satsandarbhas, Jiva Goswami explains thoroughly in 6 theses why the Bhagavatam is the ultimate authority. Okay. It goes like this. Sanatana Goswami says, Sarva Shastrabdi Piyusha Sarva Vedaika Satpala Sarva Siddhanta Ratnadya Sarva Lokaika Drikprida. O nectar from the ocean of all scriptures, singular fruit of all the Vedas, rich mine of the precious gems of all conclusive truths, you are the only giver of sight to all the worlds. Sarva Bhagavata Prana Srimad-Bhagavata Prabho Kalidwanduditaditya Sri Krishna Parivartita. O life air of all the Supreme Lord's devotees, O Master Srimad-Bhagavatam, you are the sun risen in the darkness of Kali. You are the exact image of Sri Krishna. Paramananda Pataya Prema Varshakshadayate Sarvada Sarvasevyaya Sri Krishnaya Namostume. I bow down to you, who are supremely blissful to read. Your every syllable pours down a flood of prema. You can always be served by everyone. You are Sri Krishna himself. Madeka Bando Matsangin Madguro Man Mahadana Man Nishtadaga Mad Bhagya Mad Ananda Namostute. My only friend, my constant companion, my spiritual master, my great wealth, my savior, my good fortune, my source of ecstasy, I bow down to you. Asadu sadhu tadayin adini chochatakara anamuncha gadachin mam premna rit kantayok spura. O bestower of saintliness to the unsaintly, O exalter of the most fallen, please never leave me, always appear in my heart and my voice with pure love. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay, the first day we were reading this 87th chapter, Prayers by the Personified Vedas. We read 3 texts. The next day we read 3 texts. The next day we did 4 texts. Yesterday we read, 21 altogether. 3, 6, 10. No. Anyway, we're up to 21 verses in 5 days. This is how deep it is. The prayers by the Personified Vedas, and after a short introduction, now the Personified Vedas are praying to Lord Vishnu as he's waking up to create the universe. My Lord, some fortunate souls have gotten relief from the fatigue of material life by diving into the vast nectar ocean of your pastimes, which you enact when you manifest your personal forms to propagate the unfathomable science of the self. These rare souls, indifferent even to liberation, renounce the happiness of home and family because of their association with devotees who are like flocks of swans enjoying at the lotus of your feet. That's good writing. There's a lot is said in that paragraph. Okay. Just take a break while the train goes by. Purport. Ritualistic brahmanas, smartas, and impersonalists, mayavadis, always try to relegate the process of bhakti yoga to a relative or minor role. They say that devotion to the personality of Godhead is for sentimental persons who lack the maturity to observe strict rituals or pursue the rigorous culture of knowledge. In this verse, however, the Personified Vedas most emphatically declare the super excellence of devotional service, clearly identifying it with Atma Tattva, the science of the self that impersonalists so proudly claim as their own domain. Srila Jiva Goswami here defines Atma Tattva as the confidential mystery of the Supreme Lord's personal forms, qualities, and pastimes. He also gives a second meaning for the phrase Atma Tano, Atta to know. Instead of meaning who assumes various bodies, the phrase can also mean he who attracts everyone to his transcendental body. The pastimes of Lord Krishna and his various expansions and incarnations are unfathomable, an unfathomable ocean of enjoyment. When a person comes to the point of complete exhaustion in his materialistic pursuits, whether he has been searching after material success or some impersonal notion of spiritual annihilation, he can gain relief by submerging himself in this nectar. As Srila Rupa Goswami explains in his textbook on the science of Bhakti Yoga, Sri Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, rendered into English by Srila Prabhupada as the Nectar of Devotion, one who tastes even a single drop of this vast ocean will forever lose all desire for anything else. Giving an alternative interpretation of the word parishamana, Srila Vishwanath Chakrabarti comments that although the devotees of the Lord become fatigued after repeatedly diving into the endless waves and undercurrents of the ocean of the Lord's pleasure pastimes, these devotees never desire any happiness other than the Lord's service, even the happiness of liberation. Rather, their very fatigue becomes pleasurable for them. just as the fatigue produced by sex indulgence is pleasurable to those addicted to sex. The Supreme Lord's devotees, the Supreme Lord's pure devotees, become enthused by hearing the charming narrations of his pastimes and feel impelled to dance, sing, shout out loud, kick their heels together, faint, sob, and run about like madmen. Thus they become too absorbed in ecstasy to notice any bodily discomfort. Pure Vaishnavas do not want even liberation, what to speak of other desirable goals, such as an exalted position as ruler of the heavenly planets. The degree of exclusive dedication is admittedly only rarely achieved. This degree of exclusive dedication is admittedly only rarely achieved in this world, as the Shrutis speaking this verse indicate by the word kechit, a few. Not only do pure devotees abandon their hankering for future gain, but they also lose all their attraction for what they already possess, the common comforts of home and family life. The association of saintly Vaishnavas, the disciplic succession of masters, disciples, and grand disciples, becomes for them their real family, filled with swan-like personalities, like Sri Shukadev Goswami. These great personalities always drink the sweet nectar of service to the Supreme Lord's lotus feet. Many mantras of the Upanishads and other Shrutis openly declare devotional service to be superior to liberation itself. In the words of the Nishringa Purvatapani Upanishad, Yam sarve veda namanti mumukshavo brahmabadinascha. To him, all the Vedas, all seekers of liberation, and all students of the Absolute Truth offer their obeisances. Commenting on this mantra, Sri Shankaracharya admits, Mukta api lilaya vigraham kritva bhajanti. Even liberated souls take pleasure in establishing the Supreme Lord's deity and worshipping Him. The great rival of Acharya Shankar, Srila Madhvacharya, Anandatirtha, cites his own favorite Shruti mantras in this regard, such as Mukta yitam upasate muktanam abhibhaktir hi paramananda rupini. Even those who are liberated worship Him, and even for them, devotional service is the embodiment of supreme bliss. And Amritasya dara bahuda dohamanam charanam no loke suditam dadatu. Om Tat Sat. May his feet, which bountifully pour forth floods of nectar, bestow wisdom upon us who are living in this world. In summary, Srila Sridhar Swami prays, Twat katamrita pato dao viharanto mahamudaha kurvanti kritinak kechit chaturvargam trinopamam. Those rare, fortunate souls who derive great delight by sporting in the nectar ocean of topics about you consider the four great goals of life: religiosity, economic development, sense gratification, and liberation to be no more important than a blade of grass. Text 22. When this human body is used for your devotional service, it acts as oneself, friend and beloved. But unfortunately, although you always show mercy to the conditioned souls and affectionately help them in every way, and although you are their true self, people in general fail to delight in you. Instead, they commit spiritual suicide by worshipping illusion. They commit spiritual suicide by worshipping illusion. Alas, because they persistently hope for success in their devotion to the unreal, they continue to wander about this greatly fearful world, assuming various degraded bodies. Purport. The Vedas have strong words for those who choose to remain in illusion rather than serve the all-merciful personality of Godhead. The Briyat Aranyaka Upanishad 4.3.15 states, Aramam asya pashyanti natam pashyati kaschana natam vidataya ima jajanayad yushmakam antaram babuva niharena parita jopya chasutripa uktishaschadanti. Everyone can see the place where the Lord manifested himself in this world for his own pleasure, but still no one sees him. None of you know him who generated all these living beings, and thus there is a great difference between your vision and his. Covered by the fog of illusion, you performers of Vedic rituals indulge in useless talk and live only to gratify your senses. The Supreme Lord pervades this universe, as he says in the Bhagavad Gita 9.4, Mayam tatamidang sarvam jagat. Nothing in this world, not even the most insignificant clay pot or shred of cloth, is devoid of the presence of the personality of Godhead. But because he keeps himself invisible to envious persons, avyakta murtina, materialists are misled by his material energy and think that the source of material creation is a combination of atoms and physical forces. Displaying their compassion for such foolish materialists, the personified Vedas advise them in this prayer to remember the real purpose for which they exist, to serve the Lord, their greatest well-wisher, with loving devotion. The human body is the ideal facility for reviving one's spiritual consciousness. Its organs, ears, tongue, eyes, and so on, are quite suitable for hearing about the Lord, chanting his glories, worshipping him, and performing all the other essential aspects of devotional service. One's material body is destined to remain intact for only a short time. That's another way of saying what Hawking was saying, only a little more deep. Not just cute way of saying it. He comes out and says it. They come out and say it. One's material body is destined to remain intact for only a short time. And so it is called kulayam, subject to dissolving into the earth. Kalau liyate, kal liyate. Nonetheless, if properly utilized, it can be one's best friend. When one is immersed in material consciousness, however, the body becomes a false friend, distracting the bewildered living entity from his true interests. Persons too much infatuated with their own bodies and those of their spouses, children, pets, and so on, are in fact misdirecting their devotion to the worship of illusion, asat upasana. In this way, as the Shrutis state here, such people commit spiritual suicide, ensuring future punishment for failing to carry out the higher responsibilities of human existence. As the Upanishad 3 declares, Asuya namate loka andhina tamasavritaha tangste pritya bigachanti yeke chatma hanojanaha. Oh, the killer of the soul, whoever he may be, must enter into the planets known as the worlds of the faithless, full of darkness and ignorance. Those who are overly attached to sense gratification or who worship the impermanent in the form of false materialistic scriptures and philosophies maintain desires that carry them into more degraded bodies in each successive life. Since they are entrapped in the perpetual rotating cycle of samsara, their only hope for salvation is getting a chance to hear the merciful instructions spoken by the Supreme Lord's devotees. There it is. If that's not enough inspiration to do Sankirtan, then I don't know what is. I'm going to repeat that last sentence. Since they are entrapped in the perpetually rotating cycle of samsara, their only hope for salvation is getting a chance to hear the merciful instructions spoken by the Supreme Lord's devotees. Srila Sridhar Swami prays, Tvai atmani jagannathe manmano ramatang iha kada mame drisham janma manusham sambhavishyati. When will I receive a human birth in which my mind may take pleasure in you, who are the Supreme Soul and Lord of the universe? Text 23. Simply by constantly thinking of Him, the enemies of the Lord attained the same supreme truth, whom sages fixed in yoga worship by controlling their breath, mind, and senses. Simply by constantly thinking of Him, the enemies of the Lord attained the same supreme truth, whom sages fixed in yoga worship by controlling their breath, mind, and senses. Similarly, we Shrutis, who generally see you as all-pervading, will achieve the same nectar from your lotus feet that your consorts are able to relish because of their loving attraction to your mighty serpentine arms. For you look upon us and your consorts in the same way. Purport. According to Acharya Sri Jiva Goswami ki Jai, Tirobhav Mahamahotsav Jiva Goswami ki Jai. According to Acharya Sri Jiva Goswami, the few Shrutis, such as the Gopal Tapani Upanishad, who identify the cowherd boy Krishna with the absolute Brahman in its highest aspect, had so far been patiently waiting for their turn to speak. But after hearing the other Shrutis offer prayers openly glorifying the Lord's personality, these intimate Shrutis could no longer contain themselves, and so they spoke out of turn in this verse. Wow, that's Jiva Goswami. What he could read into that. Let's read that verse again. Simply by constantly, because it's been real philosophical, right? Just all of a sudden this comes out, right? Simply by constantly thinking of Him, the enemies of the Lord attain the same supreme truth, whom sages fixed in yoga worship by controlling their breath, mind, and senses. Similarly, we Shrutis who generally see you as all-pervading will achieve the same nectar from your lotus feet that your consorts are able to relish because of their loving attraction to your mighty serpentine arms. As you look upon us, for you look upon us and your consorts in the same way. That was just out of the blue. You don't think about it when you... Now read Jiva Goswami again. What he can see. According to Acharya Sri Jiva Goswami, the few Shrutis, such as the Gopal Tapani Upanishad, who identify the cowherd boy Krishna with the absolute Brahman in its highest aspect, had so far been patiently waiting for their turn to speak. But after hearing the other Shrutis prayers openly glorifying the Lord's personality, these intimate Shrutis could no longer contain themselves, and so they spoke out of turn in this verse. Followers of the path of mystic yoga subdue their senses and minds by practicing breath control and severe austerities, If they succeed in thoroughly purifying themselves by this regimen, they may eventually begin to realize the Paramatma, the personal form of Brahman within the heart. And if they continue this meditation without deviation for a long time, they may in the end come to the point of true God consciousness. But the same objective, achieved in this difficult and uncertain way, was also attained by the demons who were killed by Lord Krishna during his pastimes on the earth. But obsessed with enmity toward him, demons like Kamsa and Shishupal quickly obtained the perfection of liberation simply by his killing them. Speaking for themselves, however, the personified Vedas here state that they would prefer to develop love of Godhead by learning to emulate the favorable surrender to Lord Krishna's confidential devotees, especially the young gopis of Braja. Although they appeared to be simple women, attracted conjugally to the Lord's physical beauty and strength, the goddesses of Braja exhibited the highest perfection of meditation. The Shrutis wished to become just like them. In this regard, Lord Brahma relates the following historical account in the supplement to the Brihad Vamana Purana. Brahmananda mayo loko vyapi vaikunta sangita talokavasi tatrastai stuto vedai paratparaha. The infinite world of spiritual bliss is called Vaikunta. There, the Supreme Truth lives, being glorified by the personified Vedas, who are also present there. Chidam stutva tatastushta padoksham prahatan gira tushtosmi bhutagbo pragya varamyam manusipsitam. Once, after the Vedas had elaborately praised him, the Lord felt especially satisfied and spoke to them in a voice whose source remained invisible. My dear sages, I am very satisfied with you. Please ask of me some benediction that you secretly desire. Shutaya uchu itatalokavasinya kamatat vena gopikaha bhajanti ramanam matva chikirsha janinastata. The Shutas replied, we have developed the desire to become like the cowherd women of the mortal world, who, inspired by lust, worship you in the mood of a lover. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Dulabo Durgataschaiva Yushmakam Samanodataha Mayana Moditak Samyak Satyo Bibitum Arati Satyo Bhuvitum Arati. The Lord then said, this desire of yours is difficult to fulfill. Indeed, it is almost impossible. But since I am sanctioning it, your wish must inevitably come true.
I have a capital yours in this one. This desire of yours, capital. I don't know if it's like that.
It's not, it's been corrected.
Oh.
Yeah. This is the benefit I have of having this Veda base. This is the Veda base. This is like the mother of all Veda bases. It's all the corrections are there. So that yours is small. This desire of yours is difficult to fulfill. Indeed, it is almost impossible. But since I am sanctioning it, your will must inevitably come true. Agamani vidin chao tu, but continue to do that. That's very important that you do that. Okay. Agamini vidin chao tu jate srishya artamudite kalpam saraswatam prapya braje gopyo bhavishyata. When the next Brahma takes birth to faithfully execute his duties of creation, and when the day of his life called the Saraswata Kalpa arrives, you will all appear in Braja as gopis. Pritivyam bharate chetre mature mamamandade vrindavane bhavishyami prayanyo rasamandade. On the earth, in the land of Bharata, in my own district of Mathura, in the forest of Vrindavan, I will become your beloved in the circle of the rasa dance. Jara dharmena susneham sudrinam sarvatodikam mayi samprapye sarvepi kritikritya bhavishyata. Thus obtaining me as your paramour, you will all gain the most exalted and steadfast pure love for me, and in this way you will fulfill all your ambitions. Brahmavacha Shrutvaitaj Chintayantrascha ta Rupam Bhagavataschidam Uktakalam Samadsadya Gopyo Bhutva Harim Gataha. Lord Brahma said, after hearing these words, the Shrutis meditated on the personalities of Godhead's beauty for a long time. When the designated time ultimately arrived, they became gopis and obtained the association of Krishna. A similar account can be found in the Shrishti Kanda of the Padma Purana, which describes how the Gayatri mantra also became a gopi. Regarding the development of bhakti, Lord Krishna further states in the Gopal Tapani Upanishad Uttara 4, Aputak puto babati yam mam smitva avarti vrati babati yam mam smitva nishkama sakamo babati yam mam smitva ashrutri babati yam mam smitva simritva. By remembering me, one who is impure becomes pure. Shall I read that again? You wouldn't mind? You wouldn't mind? Sarva, permission granted? Okay. By remembering me, one who is impure becomes pure. By remembering me, one who follows no vows becomes a strict follower of vows. By remembering me, one who is desireless develops desires to serve me. By remembering me, one who has studied no Vedic mantras becomes an expert knower of the Vedas. Hare Krishna. The Brihad Aranyaka Upanishad 456 refers to the gradual steps in the process of becoming Krishna conscious. Atma va aridrashavya shrutavyo manbato nidiyas tivyaha. It is the self which must be observed, heard about, thought of, and meditated upon with fixed concentration. The idea here is that one should realize the Supreme Self as directly visible in his full personality by the following means. First, one should hear the instructions of a qualified representative of the Paramatma and take the words of such a spiritual master into one's heart by offering him humble service and striving in all ways to please him. One should then ponder the divine message of the spiritual master continuously with the aim of dispelling all one's doubts and misconceptions. Then one can proceed to meditate on the Supreme Lord's lotus feet with total conviction and determination. So-called jnanis may think that the Upanishads praise nirvishesha, impersonal realization of the Supreme, as more complete and final than savishesha, personal worship of the Supreme Godhead. All honest Vaishnavas, however, join in adhering to the devotional service of the Supreme Lord, always meditating with pleasure on His infinitely wonderful, variegated spiritual qualities. In the words of the Shruti mantras, Yam eva she vinute tena labhyas tasyaisha atma vivinute danum swam. To that person whom the Supreme Lord chooses, he becomes attainable. To that person, the Supreme Lord reveals His personal form. Katha Upanishad 1:2-23 and Mundaka Upanishad 3:2-23. Gopi knew these books really well. It's shocking. Srila Sridhar Swami concludes with this prayer. Charana, oh, look, here comes a wandering mendicant back from the wars of, well, wars, that may be a little strong word. Come over here, because Tulsi's in the way. Here you go. Welcome home.
Glad to be back.
I'm sure you are. We've just been reading about it. What a relief. Oh, I can believe it. It's like a roller coaster. Emotional roller coaster. Along with a few, like, what are those called? Bumper cars? Roller coaster and a bumper car, all rolled in one ride. Anyway, welcome back, welcome home. Have a real holiday. Srila Sridhar Swami concludes with the prayer, Charana Smaranam Premna Tavadeva Sidurlabam Yata Kantanchit Nrihare Mama Bhuyat Ahar Nisham. O Lord, loving remembrance of your lotus feet is very rarely achieved. Please, O Nrihari, somehow arrange for me to have that remembrance day and night. Text 24. Everyone in this world has recently been born and will soon die. So how can anyone here know Him who existed prior to everything else and gave rise to the first learned sage Brahma and all subsequent demigods, both lesser and greater? When he lies down and withdraws everything within himself, nothing else remains. No gross or subtle matter or bodies composed of these, no force of time or revealed scripture. Purport. Here the Shrutis express the difficulty of knowing the Supreme. Devotional service or bhakti yoga as described in these prayers of the personified Vedas, is the surest and easiest path to knowledge of the Lord and to liberation. In comparison, the philosophic search for knowledge, known as Jnana Yoga, is very difficult, favored. Wow, here comes the Sankirtanero. Looks like you picked up somebody at the off the street and you brought him back. Well done.
Dressed to play the part.
Yeah, I mean, you found him right out there. You brought him right in. I mean, now that's what you call making devotees. That's what we need more of this. Just bring him right in, take him to the bathroom. Shave him up, put him on a dhoti, and bring him back to the temple. It happened a couple of times in our exploits of the Radha Damodar party. A couple of times it happened like that. Well, I don't know if they took him to the bathroom and shaved him up, but they got him in the van and just in the bus and just whoop, he was gone all of a sudden. Okay. Here the Shrutis express the difficulty of knowing the Supreme. Devotional service or bhakti yoga is described in these prayers of the personified Vedas as the surest and easiest path to knowledge of the Lord and to liberation. In comparison, The philosophic search for knowledge, known as Jnana Yoga, is very difficult, favored though it is by those who are disgusted with material life, but still unwilling to surrender to the Lord. Sound familiar? As long as the finite soul remains envious of the Lord's supremacy, the Lord does not reveal himself. Shall I read that again? I think I'll read that again. As long as the finite soul remains envious of the Lord's supremacy, the Lord does not reveal himself. As he states in the Bhagavad Gita 7.25, Naham prakasha sarvasya yogamaya samavritaha mudhoyam nabijanati lokomam ajamabhyayam. I am never manifest to the foolish and unintelligent. For them I am covered by my internal potency. Therefore, they do not know that I am unborn and inexhaustible. And in the words of Lord Brahma, Pantas tu kotishata vatsara sampragamyo vayoratapi manaso munipungavanam sopyastiyad prapatasin yambichintyasatve govindamari purusham tamaham bhajami. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord. Only the tip of the toe of whose lotus feet is approached by the yogis, who aspire after the transcendental and betake themselves to pranayama by drilling the respiration, or by the jnanis who search out the undifferentiated Brahman by the process of elimination of the mundane, extending over thousands and millions of years. Brahma Samhita 5:34. Brahma, the firstborn living entity in being in this universe, is also the foremost sage. He is born from Lord Narayana, and from him appear the hosts of demigods, including both the controllers of earthly activities and the rulers of heaven. All these powerful and intelligent beings are relatively recent productions of the Lord's creative energy. As the first speaker of the Vedas, Lord Brahma should know their purport, at least as well as any other authority. But even he knows the personality of Godhead only to a limited extent. As Srimad-Bhagavatam states 1.3.35, Veda Guyani Ritpate, the Lord of the heart hides himself deep within the confidential recesses of the Vedic sound. If Brahma and the demigods born from him cannot easily know the Supreme Lord, then how can mere mortals expect success in their independent pursuit of knowledge? As long as this creation lasts, living beings face many obstacles on the path of knowledge. Because of identifying themselves with their material coverings, consisting of body, mind, and ego, they acquire all sorts of prejudices and misconceptions. Even if they have the divine scripture to guide them and the opportunity to execute the prescribed methods of karma, jnana, and yoga, the conditioned souls have but little power for gaining knowledge of the Absolute. And when the time of annihilation comes, the Vedic scriptures and their regulative injunctions become unmanifest, leaving the dormant jivas completely in darkness. Therefore, we should abandon our futile endeavors for knowledge without devotion, and simply surrender ourselves to the Supreme Lord's mercy, heeding the advice of Lord Brahma. Jnane prayasam udapasya namante e jivanti san mukaritam babadiya bhartam stane stitat shutikatam tanuvan manobi ye prayasho jita pyasitraistrilokyam. Those who, even while remaining situated in their established social positions, throw away the process of speculative knowledge, and with their body, words, and mind offer all respects to descriptions of your personality and activities, dedicating their lives to these narrations, which are vibrated by you personally and by your pure devotees, certainly conquer your lordship, although you are otherwise unconquerable by anyone within the three worlds. That's the verse that Lord Chaitanya accepted from Ramananda Roy. Give up your speculation and just hear from proper sources over a long time. Bhagavatam 10:14-3. In this regard, Itaitari Upanishad 241 refers to the Supreme as Yato Vacho Nivartante Aprapya Manasa Saha, where words cease and where the mind cannot reach. The Ishopanishad 4 states, Anijat ikam manaso javiyo naitat deva anuvan apnuvan purvamarshat tad davato nyan atyeti tishtat tasmin apo matarishva dadati. Although fixed in his abode, the personality of Godhead is more swift than the mind and can overcome all others running. The powerful demigods cannot approach him. Although in one place he controls those who supply the air and rain, he surpasses all in excellence. And in the Rig Veda 354:5 we find this mantra: Kodha Veda ka iha pravachat kuta ayatak kuta iyam vishishtihi arvag deva visarjanena to ta kovida yata ababruva. Who in this world actually knows and who can explain whence this creation has come? The demigods, after all, are younger than the creation. Who then can tell whence this world has come into being? Srila Sridhar Swami thus prays: Quaham buddhyadisam ridaha Kochap Bhuman Mahastava Dinabando Deyasindo Bhakti Me Nrihare Disha. What am I? A being entrapped by the material coverings of worldly intelligence, and so on. And what are your glories by comparison, O Almighty One? O friend of the fallen, O ocean of mercy, Lord Hari, Nri Hari, please bless me with your devotional service. Sridhar Swami was a great devotee of Lord Nrsimhadev. We got through 4 of our verses tonight. We're averaging about that, 3-4 verses from this great scripture, great section of this great scripture. Okay, we'll stop there. We're going for an hour. Bring out our open mic. Yes, Prana.
I liked a lot about this reading. It just seems like it's just a
Every sentence.
yeah, every sentence. It's like I was thinking a fire hose of truth.
Yeah.
And I just thought I kind of noted a few sentences that I specifically really liked, and one of them's in the purport to text 21. The association of saintly Vaishnavas, the disciplic succession of masters, disciples, and grand disciples, becomes for them their real family, filled with swan-like personalities like Sri Shukadeva Goswami. I guess this was in the part where it's talking about, that first verse, how the devotees hear about, they jump into the ocean of the Lord's pastimes, hearing the Lord's pastimes, and it's like a nectar ocean, and the swan-like devotees are swimming in there. They meet them. So I just like that because...
Swan, lotus.
Yeah.
Wanting to swim in the lotus of the Lord's feet.
Yeah. And I was thinking, Jiva Goswami's disappearance day, so we hear a little bit about him.
Yeah.
And these acharyas, these Vaishnavas are our heroes. To hear about the personalities in Chaitanya Charitamrita or the Bhagavatam, it's just so blissful. And if I feel like, not that, I like hearing about it. I feel like there's an attachment that grows to hearing about these personalities for them, and that seems to be, very beneficial and very advantageous for the practice of devotional service.
That is the practice of devotional service. That is the process of devotional service, to associate with the pure devotees of the Lord, listening and hearing about the Lord. That's how Narada Muni got his spiritual identity back. It's how we can get our spiritual identity back. Very nice. Thank you so much. Yeah, this whole section. I like the one. I'll jump in here. I like that one verse that the Gopal Tapani Upanishad, who appreciate the absolute truth in the form of Krishna. Well, they appreciate that Krishna is the ultimate form of the absolute truth, rather. They jump in when they hear all these things, and they saw some opening, and then they decided, yes, we're going to say this. And they did. The hearing about Krishna and understanding Krishna, and meditating on him, as the gopis do. How his arms are like serpentine snakes, and the hair is beautiful, and the chest is so powerful. And then you develop an attachment for him in a loving mood, conjugal mood. And then they go to the Lord, he asks what they think, what are they thinking, what do they want, if that's what they want. That's not impossible. But, later on, when I come to the earth, you can take birth and you will fulfill your desire. Then the verse that goes with that is, if the Lord chooses you. And then we find out from that verse who the Lord chooses. The one that's the most eager, the most desirous of something specific, some specific relationship with Krishna. Even if it's just a glimmer, even if it's just a hunch, we shouldn't imitate. Prabhupada said, I just heard him say, if we imitate this, then we'll become degraded. But just some glimmer, when will I be able to find out? Not that you imagine something that you are and then try and meditate on that as being that. That's not the process. The process is to develop our intense desire through hearing these things. And when the intense desire comes strong enough, then Krishna will choose us and bestow that upon us.
I was thinking what an intense desire those Shrutis must have had, because it said that they meditated upon the Lord's beauty for a really long time.
Yes.
And then when the designated time came, then they incarnated as gopis.
That's right. He didn't just give it to them. Even when Jamil got to chanting the Lord's name at the end, even though he wasn't intending to chant the Lord's name, he didn't get it just right away. He had to come back to his body. Then he went to hard water. He did some austerities and did some bhakti, and then he went back. He got the benediction, but it wasn't like at the moment. It wasn't momentary. He had to, but relative to eternal time, it was right away. How was your Sankirtan today?
Met a few nice people.
Nice. Give us an example.
Well, one person. Well, actually, be honest, I was feeling kind of, what's the word? I wasn't feeling quite so motivated.
Mm.
And I was walking around, I was feeling just like, I was trying to approach a couple people, but didn't get any real interest, so I was feeling discouraged. And then, actually earlier I had seen these two people that I thought, I was like, oh, if I talk to them, they'll probably take something. But I didn't get a chance to come across them. And I was feeling kind of tired. I was like, you know what, I'm just going to take a nap in the van. And as I was walking to the van, and then I turned the corner, and the van was like right here to the right, and then walking towards me were the two people that I had said. I was like, all right, Krishna, I guess I'll talk to them. And I talked to them. One person I thought was a girl, but it was actually a guy. But for some reason he was just fine with it. He didn't even mention anything about it, and it was a good conversation. He ended up giving $20 and took a whole stack, and it was nice.
Nice.
He didn't have Venmo currently on his phone. He had previously used it. He actually re-downloaded it and went through that endeavor in order to give. So that was pretty.
Very nice.
I was encouraged after that, and then
very nice.
Kept going.
Yeah, Krishna, if you just this is the whole point of the process of devotional service, but particularly in Sankirtan. If you just keep going and don't stop, then Krishna gives you that experience and just lights you up. And it's the same thing that you just read, how they meditated for a long time on Krishna in that mood, and then finally Krishna fulfilled that desire. That's what pleases Krishna. Just like if we're reliable, if there's somebody you can count on, that you can count on, that they're reliable, that you get faith in that person. You'll turn to that person too when you need help or to get something done or whatever. And Krishna, he's like that also. We're like that because he's like that. And he's like that infinitely like that, unlimitedly like that. I think I said this about the last 3 nights in a row. Just keep on hearing, don't stop. Keep on chanting and keep on hearing, and all the pieces will eventually be revealed, and you can put the puzzle together and see yourself and Krishna and everything else. That was a nice, thanks very much for that. That lit up the whole atmosphere.
I really like that verse by Lord Brahma in the 14th chapter of the 10th canto, where he says, those who, even while remaining situated in their established social positions, throw away the process of speculative knowledge, and with their body, words, and mind offer all respects to descriptions of your personality and activities, dedicating their lives to these narrations, which are vibrated by you personally and by your pure devotees, certainly conquer your lordship, although you are otherwise unconquerable by anyone within the 3 worlds. And I was kind of amazed at the phrase dedicating their lives to these narrations, which is kind of what you just mentioned was should be our desired goal, is to dedicate our lives to continued hearing and chanting of Krishna's.
Not desired goal, that's what we're doing.
And
period,
practice. Yes.
Period. No, period. That's what we're doing. We should continue to do this. We're doing exactly what that says. Just trying to put beauty and the thoughts that go into the glorification of his qualities and his associates and his pastimes and all these wonderful philosophical discourses. That's it. Rather than, be somewhere else in the mind and just lick the outside of the bottle of the honey, just do it. As somebody said, who was it? Who was that? Nike. Thanks. I used to say it was MJ, but I guess it was Nike. Maybe he got it from him, from them. Maybe he had to say it because they were paying him a lot of money for his shoes or something. Or they were paying him a lot of money for their shoes. Jezebel. There's
Rasa
somebody
Rasika.
from outside of Houston who's got something to say over here. Who is it?
Rasa Rasika.
Hey, Rasa Rasika, Hare Krishna. I've been meaning to get a hold of you, but it's been really outlandishly busy over here lately.
He says, Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my obeisances.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Join.
Today it was mentioned about the living entity's envy of the Lord's supreme position. Can you elaborate on how a living entity engaged in the Lord's loving service in the spiritual world becomes envious of the Lord's position as the supreme?
Well, yes. We are part and parcel of the Lord. And as such, we have an infinitesimal amount of the Lord's qualities. But the Lord's qualities are infinite, and therefore it's possible for the infinitesimal soul to think that he would like more. And that it's subtle. It's not like we would see envy. Oh, I don't like him. I don't want to. I'll go away from him. It's just that there's no room for that in the spiritual world. So it's subtle. The initial fall down is very, very subtle. So subtle we won't even think about it. Being envy, but it's the seed of envy. It's there. But once you come here and you go through the process of suffering in so many lifetimes and finally come back and then go back to spiritual, you don't have to come back here again. But you could. It's not that we lose our independence. We never lose our independence. So we always have that potential to choose. If not, love could not exist. If the soul did not maintain an eternal independence, ability to choose, love could not exist. We're not slaves in the spiritual world. So that's the essence of the answer, that the nature of the soul is very, very tiny, and therefore there's a inherent ability for it to become clouded by forgetfulness, and to be attracted by the idea of getting more, than what we are or have. And when we see Krishna and how much he has, then it's possible. It's possible. The example that Prabhupada gave once in Chaitanya Charitamrita is when Kala Krishnadas was traveling with Lord Chaitanya in South India and literally watching him, literally every single moment of every single day performing miracles. I mean, people would just look at him, fall on the ground, tears would come to their eyes, they would roll on the ground, they would become completely absorbed in full prema. Then they would go back to their villages, and anybody who touched them or who saw them would similarly become fully absorbed in prema. I mean, instantaneously. He was watching all these things. And still, he got tricked by the Bhattihari women. And therefore, Prabhupada said in one purport, it shows that even in the presence of the Lord, you can go away. Therefore, one has to be very careful. And one of the symptoms of ecstatic emotion for the Lord is to have a healthy fear of Maya. The classic, I know you probably have heard this many times, but I'm going to repeat it because it answers this question also. Prabhupada was having darshan of the deities. It was either in Vrindavan or Bombay or someplace, and it was in India. And he was offering intense prayers. And his servant was standing with him, and he was on his way to accompany him to his room. And in the lecture that Prabhupada had given, he had said, I cannot fall down, and anyone who goes with me and follows me will not fall down either. So then, when he got back to the room, the servant asked, Prabhupada, would you mind telling me, I noticed that you were particularly intense prayer to the deity. Would it be okay if I asked for you to tell me what you were saying? He said, yes, I was praying that I would never fall again into Maya. And he said, but Prabhupada, you said in the lecture just minutes before that you can never fall down and anyone who is with you won't. He said, now you know why. Because I'm always praying to Krishna, please don't ever let me fall down again. I think that's as much as I can elaborate on that question. Yes, Prana.
How can we love someone that we're envious of?
You can't. Therefore, you have to give up envy. You can dovetail lust. You can dovetail anger. You can even dovetail madness. But you can't dovetail envy. That you have to give up. Idam te tu te guyatamam pravaksham anusuyave. Krishna says, I'm explaining this to you. This is the beginning of the 9th chapter. This confidential knowledge, I'm explaining to you because you're not envious of me. You have to be Krishna's friend. And his devotee. Friend doesn't envy a friend. Therefore, the medicine is to serve. Serve the devotees. Serve Krishna, and especially serve his devotees. That's how you give up envy. That's how it's taken away from you or removed from you, or you give it up. But the desire has to be there. The understanding, the proper understanding has to be there, and then the desire has to be there to give it up. And that constant prayer, Matsamo nasti papatma naparadi nakaschana parihare pilajja me kimbruve purushottama. O Purushottama, there is no sinner or offender who is bad as I am. How can I describe my shame? So we should feel shameful for those kinds of thoughts or that kind of mentality. But not that shame should put us into a stupor, so we can't do anything about it. That's Maya. That's Maya. Take that so-called humility and make you into a basket case, so that you can't move or speak or do anything. Stupor. It's called a catatonic, pathological stone. Some people, they get like that. They're just like this. They can't move. They can't do anything. Catatonic. So you should be afraid of that. If you tend towards depression, you should be afraid of that. And sometimes the mind becomes so perverse that it thinks, it would be a relief to become a stone. And then you'll just sit there like this. And have to cart you off to some institution and spend, millions of dollars keeping you entertained or something. Hare Krishna. It's stupid. It's the, what did Prabhupada say? It's the epitome of stupidity. It's a sum total of all stupidity. To be envious of Krishna, to be envious of someone that's given you everything. You can't breathe, you can't think, you can't do anything without, his energy and the super soul inside. But if you don't believe that, if you're faithless, then agyascha shardhanascha sangshyatma vinashiti nayam lokos dinaparo nasukam sangshyatmanaha. You cannot be happy. Not in this life, not in the next life. The doubting soul, for the doubting soul, same thing in the Bible, doubting Thomas. Even if he sees the reality, it still doubts, Kala Krishna Das was sent away by Lord Chaitanya. He protected him, he saved him, he protected him, brought him up back to Puri, and then kind of said, okay, told the devotees, he can find something for him to do. Not close to me, but find something for him to do. And they sent him to Navadvip to, give news of Lord Chaitanya's activities to Sachimata. Krishna will never give up on you. Even Junior Haridas, he made an example out of him. But after had already gone and he was coming in his spiritual body and singing to him, Lord Chaitanya became very pleased. He gave him shelter at the end. That was in the lessons, the 9 lessons or something, 7 or 9 lessons that Bhaktisiddhanta drew out of that pastime. That ultimately the Lord gives his mercy to one who stays loyal to him through anything, even being rejected. That's called love. We have to care for one another. We have to care about one another. Then we can care about Krishna, and then we can care about all living entities. Then we'll be instruments. We have to want that, and we have to meditate on that, and we have to meditate on increasing that desire to help others come to this very fortunate state that we've come to. That's freedom from envy. And don't think, that's that existential question. Well, how could anybody do that if they were in the spiritual world? Because if it wasn't like that, it wouldn't be complete. It wouldn't be complete if there was not that possibility. You cannot impose anything on the spiritual world that it cannot be this or it must be like this. Krishna is not, he can't be limited by you and your ideas, what you think. Prabhupada would say, so on the cigarette package it says, this is going to kill you. And they smoke anyway. And then it says on the pack, and it's cool. They put some menthol in it, so then drawing in, it makes it feel like it's cool, but it's actually hot. It's burning. It's cool. This will cool you off. That's the conditioned soul. It will accept illusion as reality. Talked about that in the verses.
Worship illusion.
Yeah. Consort with illusion. And what does that consort with illusion mean? It means I'm trying to be like Krishna. I'm the enjoyer. That's the envy. I'm the enjoyer. And you do have that enjoying spirit. But it's meant to be dovetailed with, not dovetailed, but it's meant to be given to Krishna in loving service. That's who we are. So you forget Krishna, and then that's it. Then you're in Maya. Doesn't matter where you are, who you are. And it happens. Even big devotees, they sometimes do that. That sometimes they get entrapped again. I know the mind thinks, oh yeah, well now what about me? I'm useless. I can never do this. Therefore, I'll just turn into a vegetable. Okay, gentlemen, with that loving, yes.
I think Manjari has a question.
Oh, I'm sure she would. I knew she would after that. Okay, Rati, go ahead. I want you to know that she was out there chanting, all day, worshipping Jiva Goswami. Go ahead.
Says, Dear Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. Many good points again tonight. Thank you, and thanks to the devotees there. I have one question. You were mentioning depression. Sometimes we do meet persons or devotees who are diagnosed with depression. What does it mean when someone is in a state of depression? How is it caused? Is there a particular way to preach to persons who are suffering like that?
You chant Hare Krishna as loud as you can, and you fill them with Krishna Prasadam. You're already doing it, Rati. You got to give them a taste, and they're so addicted to they're thinking that misery is good, right? Pleasure or something. They take pleasure in misery. That's the material world. It's just an extreme form of it, that's all. And we're thinking the person who's out there making $1 million, is completely, and we're like nothing. And then that person commits suicide or gets depressed. Because they're trying to enjoy Krishna's energy. It comes on by trying to enjoy Krishna, what doesn't belong to you. It comes for forgetting who you are. And it's just an extreme case of it. It's just extreme. Somebody walks in the door and tries to convince you that they're Barack Obama or, well, Trump would never try to do that. But anyway, somebody comes in and nobody would want to do that with him probably. I don't know, maybe some would, I don't know. But, yeah, okay, go ahead, You just immediately write them off, they're crazy. They're crazy. They think they're someone they're not. So we're crazy in this material world. This material world makes us crazy. It makes us think we're somebody that we're not. So as long as you're thinking you're someone you're not, then you'll have some variety of strangeness or some variety of, illusion. It's just extreme. That's all. Just keep chanting Hare Krishna, Rati, because you love to chant Hare Krishna, and other people love to hear you chant Hare Krishna. And when you chant Hare Krishna, you lift other people up, and that's how you bring people out of depression. But I happen to know that she's a social worker, and she has to deal sometimes with people who are very unfortunate and having great difficulties. And she has to deal with it and try to find ways. And she can't just chant Hare Krishna to them, because then she gets in trouble at work. So I realize her dilemma sometimes. But Rati, that's why you go out into the streets by yourself with your little hand orchestra and give people the nectar of the holy name. And all I can say is just keep doing it. You asked me a question, when was it? 2 days ago or 3 days ago. And I thought about it, and I remember it was something about japa versus kirtan or something like that. And I remember what the Vaikuntha Dutas told Gopakumar in the Briyat Bhagavatamrita. They said, the service that you're doing for Krishna, that you like to do the best, that's what you should do for Krishna. Why?
Because you can do it with the most absorption.
enthusiasm, not absorption, enthusiasm. When you're doing something you really like, you get enthusiastic. And when you're doing that for another person, then the person likes it because you're enthusiastic. Utsahan, nishchaya dharya, tat tat karma. You can't take a step forward without enthusiasm for what you're doing. So if you have a particular thing that you love doing best, do that for Krishna. And everything else will come from that. Eventually the taste for everything will come from that. Because you'll please Krishna. No? And Prabhupada used to say to us regularly, especially in the beginning, he would say, okay, so you don't feel like dancing? Dance anyway. And eventually you'll feel like dancing. You're not enthusiastic? Act like you are. But it will help if you're doing something that you feel enthusiastic to do, that gives you, like he was telling, Dr. Doug was telling about that story where he was about ready to go out to the van and take a nap. and the person, he thought, yeah, they'll take, and then whoops, there they go in the crowd, and then all of a sudden they walk up right when he was going to go take a nap. Krishna's saying to him, oh, remember me? Remember what you thought to do, positive? And he went over there and it turned out to be really nice. And it's always like that. And we always have the choice. And we have to keep making that choice from moment to moment. Whether we're going to be with Krishna and do something for Krishna, chant, hear, write something, preach, cook, clean, something, preach yourself. You keep preaching to yourself, then you realize you're not your body. You stop preaching to yourself, you're finished. Congratulations, passed the test. Okay, that's it. I'm going to stop tonight. It's after 6 o'clock. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, everybody. Thanks all for those wonderful questions and discussion. It was really uplifting and wonderful. And we'll see you tomorrow at 4:30 Central Time, Houston time. Hare Krishna. Srimad-Bhagavatam ki jai. Personified Vedas ki jai. Srila Jiva Goswami ki jai. Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari. See you tomorrow. Hari Bo.